What is something annoying tourists do when they visit your country/city/town? I live in London. It's really annoying when tourists block entrances and exits onto train platforms. Instead of walking along the platform, they'll just enter the platform and stand there. It's massively infuriating. I'm pretty sure trains work the same in most countries. They're long and you'll be more likely to board if you move along. Also, let people off before boarding. Bonus annoying points for tourists who stand in front of tube line mats trying to figure out where to go. The stairs at Green Park Station leading down onto the platforms are a nightmare because people stand on the stairs or congregate at the bottom to look. There's maps on the platforms you can look at. It's the same at Embankment 2 near the escalators. I don't mind tourists stopping to take photos as people do that, and we can walk around them, but some basic etiquette and common sense on the underground will make everyone's journey a bit nicer. You tourists sound like they all come from Montreal. Insist on using Uber because they are too inept to use tube bus walk. It's funny though, as they just end up stuck in traffic. If they did that in Spain, I'm almost positive that their Uber driver would refuse to pick them up, and then the Spaniards who watch the tourist not get a ride from their Uber would probably tease the tourist or something along those lines. We walk everywhere in Spain. It is very common to walk, eat, walk, eat, walk, eat, go to the bar with your kids at 1 AM, get some gelato, walk home, sleep until 11 AM, repeat. In the UK we laugh at them too. Someone got really upset with me for laughing at him for taking Uber from Schiphol to Amsterdam, even though the train goes every 10 minutes fast, direct and cheap. Cause car accidents from driving on the wrong side of the road to where they should be here. In UK we drive on the left. I'm an operating room nurse. Have had to help put way too many people back together again after being bit by tourists driving on the wrong side of the road. Just finished a road trip around Ireland. No dents. Kept mirrors. Sticking right wasn't an issue. It was my spatial awareness on the right that was challenging. Did not expect it. I found switching sides was not an issue whatsoever. I was very worried about it, but when the time came, no problem. Taking pictures of everything. Like you can't walk around Frankfurt on a Saturday without at least 5 groups of Asians with selfie sticks and cameras taking pictures of you. I don't like obsessing with taking pictures of everything in general, but I really dislike if I'm on those pictures, and I don't mean in the background. Sometimes people will take a picture of you standing around with your friends or sitting somewhere. It's just rude and irritating. I live in Des Moines, Iowa, and all the tourists here want me to vote for them in the primary. Also fellow Des Moines resident. I've been to Des Moines, ate at Zombie Burger, pretty good. Surprised about how cheap the parking meters were. Fellow Des Moines resident here. This. Fellow Des Moines resident here also, when they pronounce it Des Moines. I live in New Mexico, USA. We have to put USA on our license plates because people think we are part of Mexico. I've had tourists ask me if it's safe to drink the water. Some try to speak to me in Spanish. I'm Hispanic, but not bilingual. One commented about how easy it was to cross the border. Yeah, I'd think that would be a clue. For some reason no one wants to use the crosswalks in my town, despite how plentiful they are. Even residents are bad about it, but tourists are terrible, since we get so many in the summer months. They walk right out from between cars without warning, and I'm worried for the time when a driver doesn't have time to react. Lots of major cities are starting to install these rent-a-bike systems with stations every few blocks. I see so many tourists rent those bikes and take them for a joyride with no concept of bicycle safety or traffic laws. But there's no laws or rules that apply to American tourists on vacation. They come to our national parks by the busload, disrespect the animals, and walk off the paths to take selfies, destroying the plant life and litter. I wish we could limit how many tourists can come at any given time. And they take hundreds of pictures of my dogs for some reason. Cameras right up to their faces. Stop in the pavement and pull out cameras. Do they not realize I am walking here? Also, they are extremely rude in their own language. I can speak a few of them, and I was literally called the equivalent of a N at Ashe. I just asked him, excuse me, in his language. He walked away. I live in Galashiels, Scotland, an hour south of Edinburgh. So far the only issues I've had are having to look out for them and their weird driving habits whilst doing lessons, particularly around Melrose, a small town nearby which is way I'm more geared towards them. Block through ways either on the street or the tube. It's a minor inconvenience unless you're trying to get to work. I try not to get too angry because I try to remember they are probably normal working people like me who may have saved 4 years for this holiday. To preface, I live in the US. A lot of tourists don't understand personal space for some reason and it's one of my biggest pet peeves. Getting too close in lines cutting in front when it's very clear there is a line. My city is plagued with pedal taverns, scooters, bachelorette parties. Residents have begged for the pedal taverns to get banned, and scooters are in the process of being banned I believe. Spelling. Parking on the shoulder of the only road leading to a popular tourist town to take a picture of one deer, then proceeding to cause big delays and near accidents when they can't get back onto the road. I live in Singapore, and people leave napkins on tables and chairs in restaurants to reserve seating, taking a seat when there's a napkin on a table or chair also tipping, because service charges exist. Stand in the middle of the sidewalk looking upward. Stand off to the side and let me get to work. I live in New York City. There is a whole host of things I could go on about, but that is the biggest one. From an island here, they are the reasons the buses are full in the summer and nobody can get to work on time. We basically have to fight tourists getting in the bus cause theoretically we are both on a time limit. Well, Detroit doesn't get many tourists these days because people still think it's as dangerous as it was in the 90s. Still most dangerous major city in the US. Some stay at their hotels without actually visiting the country and then call it paradise. Or only eat in McDonald's and never try the local foods. Littering. While we have an issue with locals littering too, the tourists not knowing what our city garbage and recycling receptacles look like creates a mess. Run out into traffic so they can get their picture taken in the exact spot where Kennedy was shot. So they can die in the exact spot where Kennedy died. I once found Japanese tourists taking pictures with my fat cat. He was much fatter at the time. He didn't mind, he was giving them kisses. Well, I wouldn't say it's annoying, but it is pretty strange. Many tourists here take pictures of garbage. It's kind of depressing. Brit here, someone had probably mentioned this but you better cat. Especially a group of people blocking the right side of an escalator. Mexican here, when they complain that nobody speaks English and or accepts dollars outside of touristic zones. When they stop every 15 seconds on the pedestrian path of the Brooklyn Bridge to take photos, clogging up the entire walkway. Let them be tourist and have their fun. Our livelihood is dependent on tourism dollars. Litter tends to sprout up a lot more when tourist season comes around. They drive slowly on our beautiful roads, unaware of commuting locals. Critique it and say how much better it is where they live. Then go home. Walk around and do everything but looking forward where they are walking. Left lane campers. Stay right except to pass. Hey, look, a cactus so interesting, they're literally everywhere. No, it is not crow. Never mind. Walk by the unmistakable bike lane.